Okay, welcome to our meeting. We'll begin with our public participation at Town of Hatfield Select Board meetings. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all public meetings of the Town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and the committees of the Town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. For the public's information, this meeting is being recorded. I do want to begin by saying thank you to the DPW and our emergency services for working through this last storm. It was a big one, and there was a lot of work, a lot of hours put in by the DPW, and I do want people to know that they're still continuing cleanup, so they will eventually get everything done within a day or so. So want you to be aware of that. And those are basically, and again, if you can, clean your hydrants. That's what we've talked about. Clean your fire hydrants if possible. And those are my announcements for this evening. I don't know if my colleagues have.
I'll just add, clean off your cars before you drive away too, please. I'd appreciate that. You know what I mean?
I'm all good.
Okay. Anybody here for public forum? No. All right. I will take a motion on the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve February 10th, 2026 meeting minutes.
Second?
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Posted business, we're going to be moving into budget reviews. This evening we have with us the police department, fire and EMS, and Council on Aging. And then we also do have a hearing at 6 o'clock. So if we're anywhere near 6, we'll have to stop. And we actually have 2 hearings, one at 6 and one right after. So that's how we'll proceed. So we'll start with Chief DeKochek is here with the police department. He is ready to present his department budget for the coming year.
I believe you guys have a copy of it. It's level funded for the most part, with the exception of a contractual increase for me going into the fiscal 27 year. And there's also an addition in this year's budget. Our Comfort Dog program, well received, well liked. Officer LaValle uses the Comfort Dogs for different events around the area and in the school system. We have recently found out that we were not complying with the Fair Labor Standard Act, and it looks like many departments across the state were not, because the dogs are privately owned. So until it was brought to all of our attention statewide that we still need to, she's not allowed to do it for free. Essentially, the law doesn't allow her to volunteer her time. So with that being said, the recommendation is 30 to 60 minutes per day she would have to be paid, and that's 365 days a year. So at 30 minutes per day times half her rate as a part-time officer, that's another $4,442 a year in salary, without discussing any COLAs this year, because we don't know that answer yet. But so that number is in that salary line as well, along with some expenses for the dog, the liability insurance, and then the normal upkeep. So essentially what the law says is you have to pay them for at least a minimum of 30 minutes per day, and general upkeep, food, and that type of stuff. So that total runs to about $6,700 in the addition to the budget. So that's the increase in the expense along with the increase in the salary line, if we want to keep the Comfort Dog program. I hope we do keep the Comfort Dog program. I think it's a wonderful program that I think has a lot of support in town. It is, of course, an extra added expense, but I have spoken with the town attorney on it as well. He's gone over this, and essentially, if we go forward, we would write up a contract that the town would have with Officer LaValle and Luna.
So basically what you're saying is the Fair Labor Law says any department that has an animal, they have to be compensated something for
Yeah.
taking care of that animal throughout the year. So this is where this is coming from. And our lawyer's going to write up something for us to sign. Is that what you're saying?
If we get funding for it.
Okay,
Yes,
if we get
if the town funds the program, then yes. We won't go forward with any contract or anything like that until I know that funding
Well, I
has been
mean,
approved for us.
I have heard it's money well spent for
It is,
the
yeah.
department to have a dog. It does a lot, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know if you've heard anything bad about the town and the dog, only
No.
positive stuff.
Only positive, yeah.
And it's good with the kids and
Yeah.
with others, so.
Yeah, and Officer LaValle enjoys doing it too, she really enjoys doing it, and so.
Well, thank you for the explanation, because I saw that in the money line, and I was wondering what that was for.
Yeah, that's that extra, whatever, almost $7,000, that's what that is for, so.
So does this include money to buy the food for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially, the breakdown is just the food, the heartworm, the yearly wellness check, so on and so forth. What I spoke with the town attorney about was essentially, what if the dog gets sick or something? And we would not be responsible for that. It's still a privately owned animal. We benefit from having the dog, and that's why we have to pay for those normal expenses.
Okay, I mean, your budget request is modest. I mean, it was a very small percentage. And can you have any idea of your future department, anything you want to add that you may see coming at us in the next few years or anything of that nature?
The only thing I can say about that is the same thing we've been discussing for the last 4 years, which is personnel. Nothing's going to fix our current issues except for more bodies on that police department. As everyone knows, we just lost Officer Johnson. He is retiring due to a medical condition. So we're down to 3 people working right now. That's myself, Lieutenant Phillips, and Officer Mons. So it's hard to cover everything with that. And there's unfortunately days where there might be no coverage. So the only thing that fixes that is hiring more people. But you can't hire more people without more money, so.
Yeah, those are my questions. I don't know if my colleagues have any questions on the budget or
No,
anything
clear on
for Chief?
I'm good.
Nope, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, well, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
so Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Okay, we'll move to Fire EMS next on the topic 1. Chief Flaherty's here to give us an update on his budget.
Good evening. So we have our packet in front of you. I did submit 2 budgets. We'll talk about the 27 level service budget as requested. If you've had a chance to look through it, we just made a few adjustments here and there. At the end of the day, it actually only ends up being about a $2,727 increase, and that basically comes from contractual for myself. How we got there was part of this budget is built based off of the closing of North Fire Station, and I know that's a topic to come up later, and that helped us absorb some of the other expenses that were changed in the line. And then we moved some lines around on the salary side based off of the previous couple years of expenditure. So ultimately, that level service is the only addition ends up being a little less than what the contractual agreement is.
How many full-time do we have now?
3 counting myself.
We did fund before for 4, right? So you're still struggling to find people to,
It was never fully funded for the 4th position.
no?
It was discussed, but it wasn't actually enough money funding it at the end of the day when you put everything together. So other than that, fire side, that's pretty much the budget as you see it. Like I said, we have that other conversation coming up, and that could change that budget number, just that $1,200, depending on where that goes. Ambulance budget, that level service was just a $730 increase as it stood, and that was essentially just a little bit of expense due to the software program that we use. They go up, 3 to 4% every year, and that was basically to absorb that cost, and that would be coming out of the ambulance revenue. That would not be from taxation. So that's that part. What I do have that came up since I've submitted this, and it was actually only dated February 11th, something that I think I knew it was coming. I've expressed it for a couple of years. But South County EMS, who is our primary mutual aid provider, they have submitted a letter as of February 11th that beginning July 1st, they are going to start charging the town of Hatfield for any mutual aid calls to town. And that is regardless of the call disposition. So as soon as they get dispatched, if they're canceled, no trip, whatever the case may be, they are going to charge a fee to the town of Hatfield, and that's $350 per call. Based off of the first half, of FY26, they have already come to town 94 times. So that equates to $32,900 if that was in today's, if this agreement was in place. So you take that out and it basically goes to $65,800 if you extrapolate that out for a full 12-month period. So that is definitely something that I have the letter here, and I gave a copy to Andrew. He certainly can get you guys a copy of it. But that is something that is going to be happening July 1st, so we are going to have to fund that.
I guess we'll have to have a discussion on that, because this is first I'm hearing of it.
Like I said, the letter is
Yeah, we'll have to sit down and
10 days
try
old.
to see what's going on and how to
I've
meet
sent them
that.
a letter that they'd like to have a conversation with us. So what I told them was we would talk. Chief is here tonight. We'll discuss this, and we should have some follow-ups and arrange for a meeting with Chief
All right.
Sparks.
So, unfortunately, it was one of those things that I knew it was going to come at some point.
Well, there was, prior when you were here before, there was another company also did backup for us.
Yep, we had used Pioneer Valley EMS, which is a private company in Northampton, for a number of years. We switched to South County September of '24, and that was essentially due to Pioneer Valley was not able to provide the service that we needed.
Okay.
They were regularly not able to send a truck. It was taking, on average, 22 and a half minutes for them to get to town. And there was a couple of calls that I was concerned with, is that they were sending a BLS truck to an ALS call. We had a party at one point. It was an unresponsive party, and the only truck they had, it was fine. They did send a truck, but ultimately that call really should have ended up with an ALS.
Does South County have paramedics, or, I mean, because what do we have for paramedics in our town?
On the roster right now, there is 10, and there's one that has now not worked in about 90 days, so I'm actually dealing with that.
Okay, so when we have staffing for the ambulance, do we always have a paramedic, or is it just
We do not.
basics?
We do not always have a paramedic.
But if we call South County, would they have
They do.
paramedics?
They are
And
an
if
ALS service,
Northampton comes?
typically a double paramedic truck, actually. That's just how they staff.
And if Northampton shows up, they're paramedics also, right?
And I do have a letter from last year. I don't think I have it in this packet for this year. I do have a letter signed by Chief Phillips from Northampton. They will not take us on as a primary mutual aid. They're more than happy to come to us if they're called, but they do not want to be the first mutual aid call. And they don't have any interest in taking over Hatfield as the ambulance provider either. They're struggling to cover their own calls. So that's not really an option. We could certainly think about Pioneer Valley, but it's definitely going to double the amount of time that it's taking for other mutual aid to get here, and there's no guarantee that they're going to get the care that they should.
I mean,
So-
we've struggled for years trying to get people
Yep.
full-time for our department, and it's,
Our biggest problem is that we run with predominantly per diems. I mean, the full-timers, I work Monday through Friday. The other two full-time staff work 3 days a week, 16 hours a day, and it rotates. So it averages out for their 42-hour work week. But outside of that, all the rest of our employees are essentially at will. They pick and choose when they want to work. We can't force them to work due to their status. So it kind of is what it is, and if it doesn't line up with the rest of their schedule, there's not much we can do about it.
all right.
We do have a 2 shift per minimum, 2 shifts per month minimum that everybody has to work, but that still does not fill out all of the shifts based off of the staff.
Okay, we'll have to have a future powwow. I mean, either if we can't find more people, then we probably be forced to go and have funding for South County. Worst, case scenario, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think this particular letter comes down to is that your 2 options are either you're gonna go with this South County proposal and we're gonna have to fund that for a fiscal year that's part of our regular budget. And then the other option, or 2 options, I guess, would be is that Hatfield Ambulance goes to the 24/7, so then we know that we're staffed except for those simultaneous calls, because those are inevitable. And then the worst case scenario would be is if we cannot do anything further, the ambulance would have to ultimately fold if we cannot staff it. And that's not something that I'm interested in, that's not good for the residents. But you're also talking if any other option is going to be come into the several $100,000 based off of the MRI study from a couple years ago. I think the cheapest
Our
version
average
was like
calls
400.
per day are still like 1.5.
Yeah, I think we're right around there, 1.6, 1.8. And I do want, the residents to understand, and we've had this conversation for a number of years, is that the staff, when they're here, they are also firefighters. The bulk of the work is EMS. Everybody understands that across the country. But these folks are dual role employees. They staff the fire truck, they staff the ambulance as well. And the fire side is also a place that we are struggling because we just don't have enough call staff in town and that are available. They all have other things going on in their personal lives. And there's not much we could do about it.
Do you find that some folks go to a department because they wanted a little bit more calls, or something like that? I mean, do younger folks want more activity at a larger department with more calls, or do they? I mean, how does that work?
A lot of it does come down to the fact that people join the fire service for a 24-hour schedule because you end up working about 7 days a month, the way that the rotations fall. And anecdotally, from a lot of other people on the department who are full-time other places, they have said they would come here if they could have a 24-hour schedule. And that's a huge hurdle. And no, because it's hard to ask someone to work a 16-hour day outside of their normal shift rotation. So it's been a big thing.
And a full-time schedule was, I forget how much money more is, a couple $100,000?
Salaries and benefits, I think last year was at $480,000 total.
So that wasn't it. Compared to the 32,000, the increase would be, I mean, I'm just looking at.
70,000 for a year.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
it's
just
absolutely
for
going to
mutual aid.
cost you more if we were to go to a 24/7 model here. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
All right.
That I would never say that that's not the case, but this is also money that is purely going out. You're collecting nothing on the other end, so it's going to, whatever the funding source is,
So
it's
when
either,
South County comes in, they get whatever they charge the person that they get plus $350 on top of that.
correct,
That's what you're saying, okay.
correct. As soon as they get dispatched, if they get canceled and they're still, in Deerfield or Whately and they got canceled, the town of Hatfield is still going to be charged the
How
$350.
many ambulances does South County have?
I think they own 3 and only 2 are currently in service. I think the third one is currently out of service.
How busy is it?
They only staff one 24 hours a day. The other one is either a 10-hour-a-day impact if they can get staff for it. It's not necessarily every day.
All right. I don't have any other questions on your budget. I don't know my colleagues. Do. You have
Nothing else
any?
on the budget, no.
And I did have one more. For the first time since I've been chief and the first time that I can recall, the emergency management budget is also going up a little bit just because of the code red system. So the reverse 911 system that we use, they have upgraded their entire platform. It was actually shut down earlier this year or the end of 25 due to a cybersecurity attack. So they moved into their new platform. There's a few new features. They increased the price. If you see the note on the side, I spoke with Andrew, and he thought it was a good idea to get the little bit better service, which included text messaging. Under our old platform, that was not an option. And with the way that a lot of people like their information via text.
So your total budget for everything's about 503 or so, right? Something like that?
I don't usually add them all
Yeah,
together
okay.
right off the bat. They're all on separate.
Well, I know, but
But yeah.
I thought last year we were talking about, for financial reasons, putting everything together. I don't know if,
Yeah.
I thought that was a discussion.
That was a
we had.
discussion, yes.
We typically show them as separate budgets, but we can show them all together if it's
Okay.
helpful for comparison.
Yeah, last year we asked, and the finance committee asked to just
Yeah.
make it one budget, it's one department.
I know, speaking to the accountant, they want everything separate.
Okay.
Because I was ready to start putting a lot of things together, and then the accountant's like, yeah, hold off on that.
It is helpful to show ambulance separately because we show that coming from a different revenue source, essentially. It comes from the receipts reserved for appropriation for ambulance.
Right.
So being able to separate that out is helpful, but we can at least show what the whole costs of the department are.
Right, I mean, we could have the separate budgets for the accounting purposes, but have one sheet to show the total cost of the whole thing, so it just makes it easier in my head. I'm not saying, I'm not a financial genius or anything, but if I see everything on one sheet, it makes it easier.
And I think the last couple of years when we made it to town floor, town administrator did put them into only just, like a single line.
Yeah, just so
On there and
people
just put it
understand
together.
it and they don't get confused.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think it was just for the planning stages that if I put
Right.
it in one place,
Okay.
obviously what comes from ambulance revenue, it makes it a little bit confusing when you're setting the budget.
Actually, you said you weren't fully funded to have 4 full-time people.
Correct. If we,
What's missing?
the hours did not line up, and it does kind of go back to what I've brought up for the last couple of years, is that the budget was still cut from 23 to FY 23 to FY 24 by just under $20,000. And that's part of that full funding that I would not have enough money.
So how much would you need to fully fund a 4th person? Less than 20,000.
I would need that 20 to make up the full difference because of the overtime, the holiday pay, and their base. Because I realize that has also now moved 3 more fiscal years, so you'd have to add another, whatever the COLAs were over the last 3 years to that. We don't really have a space to put another person, just schedule-wise, that's gonna be amenable to them, kind of what Luke was saying. The 16s work currently right now, we just don't have enough place to put another 40-hour employee within the current model that we run.
So are you spending the money that you do have for that, the partial full-time person, on something else?
Nope, it's covering the difference now of the overtime and holiday pay when we've sent the last 2 full-timers to the academy, which is part of the full-time that they have to go to call vol. We're using basically the difference to fund those extras that were not funded for in the budget itself.
So even if you were funded $20,000 more to get a 4th full-time person, then you wouldn't have enough money to send people to the academy?
It would,
Because
it
that's
would
what you're
not take
dipping
up
out
the
of.
full 20,000. The academy would not take up the full 20,000. The overtime, regular shift overtime, the holiday pay for all employees would make up that.
But I'm saying if the extra money that you have for the partial full-time person,
Mm-hmm.
if we added the 20,000 to it, you would be able to get a fourth full-time person, but you wouldn't be able to send anybody to the fire academy and do the other things that you've been doing with that extra money.
Correct.
So you wouldn't be able to send the fourth full-time person to the fire academy.
No, no. Another hire potentially would not be able to under that. And we don't have another 40 hours.
So the money that's earmarked for a fourth person is cushioning other things.
Correct.
Okay. And what else is the emergency management doing other than doing Code Red?
I mean, as far as the budget goes, those are things that are
What is
in-
it? What is that whole place doing? What do they do?
So every so
Are
many
they- are you
years, we're
meeting or
reviewing
anything?
the hazard mitigation plans, the COOP plans. So those are offset by about a year each that we go through and redo those. I think I actually just brought the last round of the COOP plan to you guys about a year ago for approval. So those are constantly being looked at. And then, you know, other regular chores, you know, looking through grants and stuff like that, EMPG grants, processing those. That one's actually just came out again.
Okay. I'm all set.
I guess we're all set. Thank you for coming and presenting your budget.
Did you want to do a quick 2 seconds on the supplemental, or do we want to skip that until later? Because it's probably not something that's going to come to light.
On the fire station we're talking about?
No, it's just a supplemental budget.
Oh,
You should address it. I think it's important.
Okay. All it was, pretty much, the big crux of this was to do raises across the board, essentially for the 2 full-timers and the per diem staff. I did a quick little study up and down the 91 corridor between South County, Northfield EMS, AMR, and Hadley Fire. You know, they're the most close to us as far as size-wise and what we're doing. And I found that we're anywhere on a brand-new EMT or a brand-new paramedic, we're underpaying by about $3.85 an hour. Up to a seasoned person, we're off by upwards of $14 an hour to be competitive. So I had just thrown in to see if we could get it up there and add $1 to these folks. Some of them have expressed that that would just go a long way, show that we're trying to get them where they could be. Because a lot of these folks, they could go anywhere else and make significantly more money.
well, how does that
Pretty much
reflect,
the same amount of work.
how does that reflect in your budget? What would be the increase, the total increase on, I mean, I would think that'd be part of the budget presentation, whatever.
It's in the first sheet.
Additional
It's a
things you
Second
wanted.
pack.
It looks like it's about $2,200 for the additional full-time and $57.50 for the per diems.
Yep.
So under 10,000.
I mean, that should be part of the budget request.
It is.
I mean,
It's in the
the chief
supplement.
followed the guidance and submitted, you know, the level, and then submitted this as an additional ask. So this wouldn't be considered if you felt like we couldn't go above the level funded budget.
Yeah, well,
It's just what was asked of us to submit the level service.
Right, that's all it was, yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's ultimately up to the town of Hatfield to decide anyway, so.
Are you guys gonna be all set? I know that there's another conversation, but we just got a chimney fire, so I
Should
think.
get out of here.
Okay. All right, Chief had to go, and now we come up with Council of Agents. Sean and Jerry are here, and Cookie, and Dwayne are in the back, and
Yeah, we have a very straightforward budget request like most years. I think essentially it's what, 1,700, 1,750?
1775.
1775 is all we're asking for an increase, and some of that is just, you know, normal things that typically go up. Our mailings, you know, with more seniors every year, those go up in price. Obviously, all of the events get a little bit more expensive, but what I always think is really worth pointing out is that outside of salaries, and the Council on Aging, which runs an everyday, weekday center, you know, really only has 1 full-time and then 2 part-time staff people. But outside of salary, all we request from the town each year, or this year, is $12,875 to run all of our programming. And a lot of that is due to, us working with a lot of elders to fundraise and figure out ways to support our programming. So we asked for a very minimal amount from the town, and all we're asking this year is $12,875 for all of our programming and just all of our normal positions as they've done.
And every year since since I've been here, the Council on Aging has brought in more people every year. And I'm just going to mention, the prior year, we had 14,581 duplicated visits. And then for FY25, we had 16,961. So that includes residents in town, and we also have out-of-town folks that come here too.
Just like our folks go to out of town.
Yeah.
A lot of our folks will go to an event at Northampton or Deerfield.
And the increase is due to the great program you guys are running downstairs, so. Since we don't have you that often and you're on TV, maybe you can, give a little bit about all the great programs that you're doing in town for the folks.
Sure. So the Hatfield Council on Aging is running programs such as exercise programs. So we have Healthy Bones and Balance that is very popular. We usually have sometimes up to 45 people. So we're spewing out into the hallway at that point. We have our chair yoga exercises. Then we have our regular activities like bingo and mahjong and cribbage. And then my programming coordinator, she's the one that comes up with all the programs, and then she runs it by me. So every 2 months, we have to come up with something new. So, and that's, we look at other areas, other towns to see what they're doing. So, we'll get ideas from them too.
Oh, plus you provide a great newsletter for all the residents in town.
And,
to
and our
keep them up on what's
transportation
happening.
our transportation program is huge. When I started here, it was very busy. We actually there was 5 drivers at that time. When COVID hit, that stopped. We were still doing minimal transportation for people because they needed to go to the bank or they needed to go grocery shopping. As the years have gone on, this year, last year and this year, as we're starting, is full. I mean, when we have 3 drivers now. When you have 1 driver on vacation, okay, so you've got 2. If somebody happens to call out sick, you're down to 1. So like this week, we have 1 driver on vacation, and today one had to go out because his wife fell on the ice, so he had to bring him to the hospital. So anyway, we're at the point, even with the 3 drivers, of saying for a few weeks that we can't take additional transportation, so we have to say no, because we are full. So it's a very heavy schedule for the transportation department.
So we anticipate asking for more funding for that in future years, because, and we would have sooner, except COVID actually substantially sort of brought down the number of some of those rides, and it took a while for them to build up, but now we're seeing it return back more to the patterns of the past. So in another year, it's going to be really overburdened, so we'll have to look at additional resources then. But we continue to increase our fundraising to hopefully offset some of our programming expenses so that when that time comes, we'll be able to talk to you all about just moving a little bit here and there and then adding what you can, because we try to be responsible with the town's money as best we can. So.
I looked at your budget. It doesn't seem like a large increase at all. And I do want to have the opportunity to say thank you for everything you do for the Council of Aging. You guys do a great job down there.
Yeah, I have a great staff. I have my assistant director here, Cookie. I've got my part-time with benefits driver, Glenn, and they're all phenomenal. I mean, the care that our drivers take with our clients when they go out, they do go above and beyond some other places, but we're a small town, so we can do that.
I mean, I see, I'll be driving down Route 5 and I might see Glenn slowly walking, an elderly person out of her house to get her on that van to get her to her doctor's appointment. can we be more proud than being able to offer a service like that? You know, and we do all of this at $145,000 a year, serve meals every day, programming all day, call and visit to check in on elderly people who are struggling. Their kids will call us to fill us in on what's going on just so that we can go over and check in on them. So Jerry, you're doing amazing work and we all appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice having a great staff, because I've heard nothing but compliments of Glenn and Cookie over the years, so, plus anybody else that helped you downstairs, so.
Great.
It's nice to see that.
Thank you.
No, I don't have any questions on your budgets. I don't know if my
I don't. This
colleagues
is
do.
clear cut. I like it.
And our only change that would come would be dependent on your conversation later related to our garage. If anything were to happen to that, then we would want to revisit everything because we think that that would be detrimental. But we can talk about that later if you'd like,
Well, I mean, that's going to be
unless that's the next thing.
our next
Yeah,
topic,
right,
so while you're here,
Well, I know the fire chief isn't here.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you guys want to come up and say anything. Right now, our 2 garages are right here in the back. Yeah, I'm in the wrong place. Are back there. We've had those now since 2011. So in 2011, at the September 9th meeting of the Board of Selectmen, it was stated in there that by Chairman Lesko, suggested an alcove at the join of the ambulance and garage. The board discussed the occupants of the bays, 2 for the COA, 1 for the DPW police, 1 for fire, and then 1 for storage. Nothing to be put in the COA bays except for the COA. Police department needs a heated bay and uses a small changing room in the ambulance building. So when there was talks, or Andrew had come down to speak to me, that there was talks about maybe moving us up to Elm Court. We already looked at,
so we haven't had any conversation. This is the first time I've seen this on the agenda.
Oh.
I mean, there might have been suggestions to.
Yeah, it was brought
vary-
up.
No,
but
this is the first time we're
first
discussing it here.
Yeah.
official conversation we're having about this.
Great.
And it's the first time I've heard about this, so I'm still trying to figure out pros and cons on this. I'm not prepared actually today to make any decisions myself. My colleagues might be, but I just want to take a little bit of time to look at this and see what we need to do. Because I know on one hand, a fire safety vehicle needs to be protected, and on the other hand, we have the Council of Aging that was promised the bay. So those 2 things clash. So we as a board, today we're starting conversations. So I haven't come to any decisions, and I don't know if my colleagues have, but I think we have to investigate this a little bit further so we make the right decision. And it's either going to be a decision that both parties don't like, or it's going to be a decision that we can all agree upon, or one party's not going to. I don't know yet. I can't tell you until, I mean, I just read this on the agenda, and I'm the type of person, I hate to make a decision right away when I first read something or understand something until I've had time to think about it and review things. So I think this is the beginning of a discussion right now, and I'm going to open it up to my colleagues to voice their opinion. I don't know if they have an opinion yet on this or not, or if they're in the same position of wanting to wait and try to figure something out.
Oh, I guess I'll say that I do have knowledge of this, and a lot of it spurred from a couple months ago when we were trying to figure out what we were going to do with the Elm Court building. And Marlo, Andrew, and myself, we had met Chief DeKoschak up there and talked about potentially a move of the police station to Elm Court, which would then free up bays down here for the fire apparatus to get moved. And ultimately, after meeting with an architect, it was decided that that building really can't be retrofitted in a cost-effective way to be able to move the police up there. So then some other ideas were kicked around of what we could start using that building for so it doesn't sit vacant. And one of the things that was brought up was potentially moving the COA up there since it's mostly dry heated storage. You wouldn't have to build out a facility to have people working out of it. So that was something that was kicked around in the very, very just casual
Yeah,
manner.
I understand that, but I mean, this is the first time I've heard about the fire station in North Hatfield closing, or
Same
the-
here.
or wanting to close. I mean,
And the
we've
idea
been
was to try to
discussing
have,
of
the-
other options for that building.
Yeah.
But this is the first time on the agenda, was told that the chief now would like to close that station to save $1,200 for budget and make it easier to access the fire truck.
right, and the idea was to have the chief here to kind of bring that to you, and also have COA here to tell you about, their needs for that space, so we can take that in tonight. No decisions needed to be made tonight. It was just a chance to try to hear, what both departments were looking for and why it might be advantageous for fire. And certainly, there's an interest in potentially closing North Station. Operationally, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to have folks having to come from two different centers. For the folks who are coming in from out of town, it's less convenient than going right to 59 Main. So there's some issues there with both operations and then timing. They're concerned about being able to get quickly to scene of an emergency on a timely basis. So there'd be some operational improvements there by going right to headquarters instead of having this extra facility. And they'd be looking for one of these bays to park one of the pieces of apparatus, just because that needs to stay unlocked and needs to stay covered. So that's the interest from the fire department. At the same time, we do have these two bays that are being used by the Council on Aging for their vans. So we'll need to make some kind of decision at some point about how we want to use the resources there. We could keep the North Station open. We could see if there's another facility that makes sense. There's lots of options to consider, and I think compiling some of those questions you have tonight, or asking any questions of the COA, would probably be useful use of time at this time.
And we've looked into the space, and we don't believe it would be suitable at all. It's somewhat frustrating for us to hear the discussion because of how much the COA over the years, whether it's the need for a new center. We can't afford a new center, guys. Just be okay with it. Okay, we'll be okay with it. Very small programming budget, $12,000 a year. Get out there, fundraise, make it work. Okay, we'll do it. We just want to be able to easily access our vans that are used every day throughout the day to do very important things, taking people to medical appointments, grocery shopping, and whatnot, and not be in a garage that doesn't have an electric door, that has a dirt floor. It just, how much are we going to push the Council on Aging aside? And that's what it felt like initially hearing this. It feels better now knowing that it wasn't some large discussion. We thought that maybe it had been a larger discussion that we just weren't included in on. So we do feel better about it now, but we certainly don't think it should even be deeply considered at this point, because I'm not understanding the need based on what I've heard. If the need's to save $1,200, I don't know, maybe we have some more alternatives. But
Well, I think it'd be helpful to hear from the chief just how much it does help for the operationalizing of their emergency response. And I don't know if anyone else here has thoughts on that, it's helpful. But I was hoping to have everyone in the room, and we don't have that,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But certainly,
I
point
mean,
taken.
we have firefighters here this evening, so
I'd be happy to speak
it's
to
all
it.
the equipment for everybody at the main station.
Yes.
So, no matter what, you
There's
gotta
one-
get.
There's
the
one
equip-
firefighter who has a set of auxiliary gear at the North Station, and that is myself,
Okay,
because I'm the closest located person to that. So, and on top of it, it's a set of gear that's 5 or 6 years out of date at this point, that I use simply so I can get the truck to the scene, and then on top of that, anything else additionally, the other firefighters would step in.
how often is that truck used when this truck rolls?
Well, so it depends on the time of the year. So there's only a few trucks that we have that can fit into the North Station bay because the door is so small. So that would be the brush truck or our new engine 2. And when we took a lot of care building out the new engine 2 so that it could fit in that bay if it had to, which at this point it does. So depending on the time of year and which truck is going to be used more, that truck comes down to center station because more firefighters have the ability to respond here to get their gear and to get that
So you
truck.
swap
So we swap trucks every 6 months.
every 6 months?
Oh,
from-
roughly. And so it depends. Like our engine 2 is set up more for structural firefighting, chimney fires, things of that nature, versus the brush truck is a dedicated piece of equipment for brush fires that you don't use for very much else other than that.
Okay.
So during a heavy brush time of year, springtime, fall time typically, brush truck comes to center station so that it's easier to respond. And engine 2 moves to the north. And then during the winter months, when you're more prone to have a chimney fire, or the summer months where there's more chance to have additional car accidents and things of that nature, boating accidents that we need to have access with a smaller piece of equipment to the river areas, engine 2 comes to center station.
So what I'm hearing is the majority, or 90% of all firefighters will go to this station anyways.
Everyone
You're the
other
only
than
one that has
myself
the equipment up there, right?
that has gear at the north station. I'm the only one.
All right. All right, so again, nothing's been decided, but we'll let you know when we have, Andrew will tell you when it's going to be on the agenda, so we can try to have a powwow to see how we want to approach this. And I don't like saying we want to put COA to the side. I mean, that's not true, so.
No, but as we're looking at it, it is empty, there's no floor in there, it's not paved up there. So you're talking money to put into this, which could be $100,000, $200,000 or more to get that up to,
Yeah, well, I mean, we got to discuss it and then try to come up with a decision that everybody's in agreement with, which sometimes isn't the easiest thing, but we'll get there. I think we
okay,
will.
we will.
All right, I
Okay,
just hope
thank
it's
you.
not a problem that needs to be solved on the backs of the Council on Aging. We're trying to carry as much weight as we can to keep everything, smooth and not increase our expenses. And so for something that our staff has asked to stay in that garage bay with all they've done, I hope that the town can make that work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Let's see, we have a hearing in 6 minutes, so I don't know if that gives us enough of time for topic 3.
Would we be open to moving to Marlo's updates?
Yeah,
Because he might need to
we'll go
go
to Marlo's
upstairs for a meeting soon, too. Is that all right? Great.
Not a real long update this month, mostly on projects that I've been overseeing or working on. As far as what I've been up to, we're working on the highway materials and services, bids for FY27 for the FERCog. Had a conversation with Andrew, and there's sections that's bid for us through the FERCog that can handle our parking lot paving coming up, rather than Andrew having to procure the whole thing. It's done right through FERCog, which we're a member of. So I'm going to go down that route with that. So as of Thursday, when I prepared this report, we've had 15 snow and ice events, mostly all on overtime, weekends, holidays. That's now increased to 17 since Friday. So Friday and Sunday storm. We are in deficit, as we talked about last month. I gave you an expense report that shows us about 20,000 to the negative, but that's a couple weeks behind. And of course, the last 2 storms were long ones for the crew. So I'll try and get you a more solid number as the accounting catches up and our invoices come in for.
Now, on this last storm, I was told that because the governor declared this storm an emergency, there may be a possibility of getting some funding for the money we spent on this storm. Is that correct?
So the latest news I got yesterday morning was at that point, they're going to determine what counties will fit the bill for as far as reimbursement. Going into the storm, it looked like we were going to get a lot more than what we did. So I had the staff, I've been through the drill before on these things. So we tracked fuel time, materials, all that was tracked by Dwayne and the highway crew and the rest of the drivers. So we have the information if Franklin County is considered, but it doesn't sound like it at this point because we didn't get the amounts like Fall River and other areas with 35 inches of snow in there. They still have a bunch of roads closed and power out. But I'll keep an eye on that to see if we're offered, and if
well,
that's the
you
case, I'll
never
fill
know,
the forms
right?
out. Yeah. working with the chief, fire chief, so.
Take whatever we can get.
Yes, absolutely. So just to move on to the day pond, the dredging is complete. The outlet pipe's been installed. They're going to finish up hauling this week the stockpile of what was dredged and is decanting. And then they're looking at early spring as soon as they can get in there for a final cleanup. Because as you know, it's been pretty muddy down there with the freeze-thaw cycles. So that's kind of where we're at on that. The boilers at elementary school, right now, the valve was cut in on February 18th during school vacation. And then we're looking at, this got pushed out unexpectedly, but the shipping of the new boilers are due to happen on March 20th. Adams Plumbing is working with the manufacturers to try and get them to us sooner. So that's kind of where that project's at. Pavement management, all the front end work's been done. And as I stated in the report, we just have to wait till spring because roads look much different now than they do in the spring when they settle back down from frost, so on and so forth. Asset management sits as it has the last couple of months on the report. The grant is pretty much where it's at. We haven't heard anything on it. The new F-450 water truck was delivered 2.5 weeks ago. Currently, we're waiting on the over-the-guardrail mower and the swap truck, and they're expected late spring. I'm hearing May, June timeframe. Facilities, I just wanted to give a shout out to Max Bartlett. He's done some painting here in the town hall in the clerk's office and some patching of walls. And he did 2 rooms in the hallway at the library. It's good to have different, the staff have different traits and skills that they can use because it's a big savings to the town when we fit it in between snowstorms. I'm glad we didn't take on a lot more. It wouldn't have worked out so well, but that's about all I have unless there's other
That's perfect because we're almost at 6 o'clock where we have to have our hearing, so.
And I got to run upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing, please come forward and state your names and welcome to the town of Hatfield. And I will open up the hearing at 6 o'clock and I will open to discussion. So if you want to, state your names, what you're doing, and
Yes, certainly. I'm Attorney Roger Lipton, and my office is in Northampton, and I'm representing the petitioner here, who is under contract to buy the Hatfield Market. And to my left is my client, Mr. Christian, who's going to be the manager of the store, which of course has a liquor license. We've submitted the application on the state ABCC form through your board secretary, and advertised in the Gazette 10 days before the hearing as required. My client has the TIPS certification, which we've also submitted. There's not going to be any change in the hours of operation of the sale of the liquor, which is currently, per the license, 7 days a week. The owner of the building has given my client a lease. With my client here is his wife, who's a 50% owner in the corporation that we have formed, which is actually going to be the technical owner of the license, and that's called Zanex Corp. The seller is also a corporation. I thought one of their representatives was going to be here, but I don't.
He's going to be a little more. He's almost there.
He might be a little late. Okay. We're here to answer any questions that the board may have, and
okay, the only question I have, and since I've been on the board in the past, there's been a few violations of selling to minors. So do you have anything in place in your business to prevent this from happening? That's my only question.
you can answer.
You can answer it if you want. That's fine.
Well, he's got the TIPS certification,
Yeah.
which is very strong on age 21 being the age at which you have to be showing proof with a state license that you're eligible to purchase alcohol, and you intend to comply with all the state laws, don't you?
Yes, I do. And I also worked in the past, liquor stores. Right now, I work in the Air Force, which is in Westfield. So this is my new beginning, but I'll make sure I do not sell alcohol to a minor or any kind of like illegal activities. So
Okay.
I'll comply all the laws and regulations.
He's a military policeman at Westover Air Force Base, so understands laws and is
thank
geared
you
towards
for your
enforcing
service.
laws.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
Okay, those are my questions. I don't know if my colleagues have any questions.
I do not.
No, that's
Okay,
good.
Karen, everything's in order.
Raise here.
So,
very good.
with the hearing, I will now go, if there's anybody in here that's opposed to this license. There's nobody here opposed to the license. Is there anybody here in favor of this license?
But we have the current owner.
Well, okay, so
I assume
I
he's in favor.
will move to close the public comments, and we'll go into discussion now with my colleagues. I don't have a problem over this license. I hope you have great success.
Thank you, sir.
The only thing I would say is watch for selling to minors. That's the only thing. That store has always been a good store for the town. It's been very successful over the years, and there's a lot of history there. So I'm happy it's continuing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, sir.
do you have any discussion amongst ourselves?
I have nothing to add. I agree with you 100%. I wish you luck,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
and thank you for your service.
Oh, yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for your support.
And with that being said, I'll entertain a motion. I will now, because we're in discussion, I will now entertain a motion from my colleagues.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for transfer of liquor license from Axog Incorporated doing business as Hatfield Market to Zanex Corporation doing business as Hatfield Market.
Second.
Okay, motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck with your endeavors, and
Yeah.
hope you do well.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Board members, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, we'll move to our second hearing. I will now move to deliberation to open the hearing. And hearing will be for deliberations on regulations for Insurance Advisory Committee. And my understanding, I'll go for discussion. Andrew can fill us in on what this is all about.
Absolutely. So the advice of council, the recommendation was to have regulations that were passed that would set up this insurance advisory committee group. So to make any changes to health insurance benefits for our employees, it has to be bargained through our public employee committee, which already exists. But also there's a process to get advice from this insurance advisory committee. This is set by state statute. And this IAC, we haven't had one in the past. So in order to set up who is a member of it, how long are the terms, and these other kind of foundational questions, what's their charge, it was recommended to pass a regulation on this. And council also recommended that we have a public hearing. So we did post it on our website as council advised, and then we have a draft of these regulations for you. I think they're pretty straightforward. It's adopted from a couple other towns out here that have similar regulations. It makes the select board the appointing authority, and it makes membership basically as representative of our different groups of employees as possible. So the requirements from the state is that any union employee groups are represented. So there's 3 members that would be appointed because they are on our 3 different unions. There's also a requirement for a retiree representative, and that's specified in the regulations. And then just to the best of our abilities, we then need to just have other groups represented as needed. And that we took to mean including department heads, public safety, kind of administration and finance as kind of different groups. That's not exactly spelled out in the regulations, but that's what comes from the appointments that we plan to make. And the regulations also say that membership lasts 3 years, and that it doesn't have to be to include a appointment or a swearing in from the town clerk. This is all people who are serving based on being employees of the town. So I think the regulations are pretty straightforward, but I'll take any questions that you have on them.
Okay, so any questions on this advisory committee?
No, it's just each union, they send you somebody.
That's correct. The unions
They
pick their
select-
people.
They
Yep,
select their person, so that's just 3 unions, that's easy.
that's correct.
And, yeah, so this is just a hearing to have a committee.
That's right.
That's easy.
Okay. So I'll move with, is there anybody here for public comment on the advisory committee? There's nobody here for that. With that being said, I will close the hearing on deliberations for regulations for insurance advisory committee, and
And I'll make a
guess-
motion to approve the proposed regulations on insurance advisory committee.
Second.
motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, the second point would be to appoint the members listed on that committee.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll
I
entertain a
will-
motion on
I will make
presented for us as 8 members.
Yeah. I will make a motion to appoint DPW Director Marlo Warner, Lieutenant Clint Phillips, Donald Vollinger, Kim Robinson, Karen Baker, Jennifer Polverari, Karen Brodeur, and Marlene Michonski to the Insurance Advisory Committee.
Motion made. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Very good.
Or you have an abstain? You?
No, I said aye.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you.
Aye,
Sorry.
sorry.
My apologies. All right. Okay, with that being said,
We do have the chief here if we want to
yes.
discuss
we will
anything
go
else on
back to
Dorset Fire Station.
the topic on the closing of the fire station.
Sorry about the
Okay,
little,
we had a discussion with the COA while you were gone. I mean, they expressed their concerns, and this is the first time I'm sort of hearing it in public comment. So you can give your comments, I guess, and then I think we have to have a future meeting on trying to come up with a game plan and a decision. So I'll let you give your explanation of the closing of the fire station and.
So the reason why this topic came up was to close the North Fire Station, which is the single bay garage that's currently at the property at Norse Farm. It really came down to mostly a logistical concern for the department. We move trucks depending on the time of year, and we had a few calls that ended up requiring the truck that happened to be on that end of town, and the responder was coming from ultimately the center part of town. So it required them to come to Center Station, get into their gear, go up, get that apparatus, and then they happen to be responding to Elm Court for one, and the other one was down to the Notch. So it left for a bit of a delay in that response to actually get the apparatus down there. And then the other part of it was just operationally, due to the limited number of folks that we actually have as call members, there's really nobody that's at that end of town anymore, so they don't respond to that station to ever grab the apparatus. All the rest of their gear is down here at Central Station in their lockers. So operationally, there's nobody there, and logistically, if we have to go and get that piece of equipment, there's always going to be a delay. The 2 different nights that happened, it was the same gentleman that responded. It was one of the deputies. He was the only responder, so he had to come here, get changed, and then ultimately go up and get the other truck. So it's really the reason to close it. The reason why we chose down here is would centralize everything. All of our apparatus would finally be in one spot. And it would also save a little bit of money. Ultimately, as I presented earlier, if we keep North Station open, it does affect the budget. It's not a high number. It's obviously only $1,200 a year for rent, plus whatever the propane costs are. So there is potentially a little bit of savings in it. And the reason why it's down here is just for the fact that, fire apparatus, they don't generally lock. They don't have keys for most of it. And then, so they can't live outside, and they also have water in them. So when we get to this time of the year, we can't really do much about it unless we're going to drain them and put the truck out of service. And then it's still not good for any of the diesel motors to sit outside for long durations of time.
Well, what I did tell the COA is, since this is the first time I'm actually hearing about closing the station, is I didn't want to make a decision tonight. I just, if that's okay, I mean, it's not, we need to actually get a committee together or, okay, we're back. Yes, we're skipping along.
Yeah,
And we have another presentation.
We can go over
right?
to item 9. This is a very brief presentation, a quick introduction to affordable housing trusts. I've given you a handout as well. You can look through. Basically, think of this as to read after this meeting. I just want to give you a quick introduction. At the last meeting, I talked about how we'd received technical assistance from the Massachusetts Housing Partnership to help us over the next year or so in establishing a affordable housing trust. This is something that was flagged by our comprehensive plan as something we're interested in doing. I have from Massachusetts Housing Partnership, Shelley Gehring, who is joining us tonight. I'll give a brief overview, and then she's here to answer any questions. Basically, it's a helpful tool that a lot of communities have established. It's an additional board or committee that is responsible for affordable housing in communities. And it's something that could fit us nicely since we have established a Community Preservation Act. A lot of towns use the Affordable Housing Trust as essentially the group that then receives funds from the Community Preservation Act for community housing and then helps decide how to use them. And we're seeing the use case of that right now because we have a pretty in-depth application to our Community Preservation Act committee on an affordable housing project. And they've had to become housing experts pretty quickly overnight and try to adjudicate this application. So instead, if they're the organization that's deciding how much funds to put towards affordable housing, and then you have a dedicated group of folks who can receive training and be the group that is determining how to use those funds, it could work out nicely for the town. So that's just kind of a use case that we're going through at this very moment. What that would do, though, is that those funds, if CPC makes a recommendation to put them towards affordable housing, towards the Affordable Housing Trust, that would go through town meeting. But then once those funds are in the hands of the Affordable Housing Trust, no further town meeting vote is needed. So you need to feel comfortable with this group, making sure that they're have a good set of policies and making good decisions about how to use that funding moving forward. It's worked really well in a lot of towns. Affordable housing can be a contentious subject, so it's something that you would have control over the group in the sense that you appoint their members. It would all be selected by the select board, and the select board would also be represented on the committee. Typically, always the community's chief executive officer, so in this case our select board chair, would have to be on the board, and a member of the select board is required to be on the board. So there's kind of two options when establishing an affordable housing trust. You could either set your own bylaw that would then create what the board would look like, or you can accept a state statute. The state statute says what the powers of the group are. It says who the membership is, essentially 5 members, and that also includes the chief executive. And then it would then kind of fall to the group to set any regulations that they want to. But the statute overall is fairly narrow and sets things up with these specific powers that are in the statute. So typically, affordable housing trusts have a few different actions that they take. They can put a contribution from the town into an affordable housing development that's coming up. They can make contributions towards that as a public subsidy. And they can also run some pretty interesting programs, including down payment assistance, if that's something you're interested in doing. They can run programs for folks who are aging in place to do home renovation. I've seen that work before. There's a number of structures that they can take, but number of different actions. But it can be a helpful tool towards supporting affordable housing, since it's something that we're looking to do more of, and it's a good use for some of these CPA funds. So I'll pass it over to Shelley if she can hear us and speak. If there's anything she wants to add to my brief introduction, then if the board has any questions, we'd love to take them.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Can you turn that up just a little, and then we should be good.
She, if you can tell her to unmute herself.
Oh, no, we
She's
heard her
unmuted.
speak. We could hear her.
Oh.
Go ahead, Shelley, if there's anything else you want to add.
I'm sorry, what are you wanting to address?
Sure. So I just gave a brief introduction to kind of how the trusts work. If there's anything else that you think we should know beyond just the general powers and how some towns have established different projects for them, or different projects using affordable housing trusts. But I think we're probably good unless this group has any questions.
Okay, so I think you gave a really great overview. I don't have a lot to add, just to point out that some questions might be, if you have CPA, why would you need a trust? And it can just be beneficial to have a board that's focused exclusively on affordable housing, as well as that has a bit more flexibility, as Andrew mentioned, that the trust could potentially act as a move more easily in the real estate market if a development comes up and not have to necessarily wait for town meeting. If the trust has CPA funds, it's still bound by the restrictions and the purpose of CPA. That's in the trust statute. So there's still that protection in terms of CPA, and a select board member is required by statute to be on the board. It's very much a municipal board. It's not independent, separate from the town. But the intent of the trust board really is to help implement and support town-identified housing goals and needs. It is another board that you want to be able to fill, so you just need to be thoughtful about that and not restricting membership too much because of wanting to be able to keep the board fully seated over time. But Andrew gave a really good overview, so unless there's specific questions, that's mainly what I would add.
Well, the only questions I would have, I mean, we're a small town. We don't have like departments that deal with, like housing and all this stuff. So is it grants available to assist, or, you know what I'm sort of saying? We're not like we don't have a department that deals with all this. So how does that work? If we need to get a plan together, is that where you guys come in to work with us, or?
So I think the housing partnership does offer a decent amount of technical assistance for considering applications for CPA. They are helping us now with this process, potentially starting a trust. So there are resources out there, which is nice, and there's trainings as well for folks who are members of these affordable housing trusts. So there's a good number of resources that are out there that could, help us, because right now we don't really have a group that's just focused on affordable housing. We do have our housing authority, but they're really just focused on running the Capilong project. We have CPC, which will then, look at these applications that come in for affordable housing, but they have applications about recreation, open space, all these other things as well. And a lot of them are serving on other boards and don't really have the time to focus on this. So what it would do is give us a dedicated group that focuses on affordable housing and can weigh the pros and cons of different projects that could come up to them, and could interface directly with staff here that do work on these issues as well. So they can move a little faster than CPC, because once funds are in their control, they don't have to wait for town meeting. They could do it throughout the year if something like Habitat for Humanity or another group comes up with a good project to move forward with. So, there's pros and cons of doing it, but if it's something that we're interested in trying to invest in more affordable housing, it could be something that works well for us.
I mean, like with CPC right now, the applications are closed. So it's like they have money for affordable housing put to the side, but there's never been anything presented. So I mean, with the CPC stuff, does that mean this plan would have to wait till the next cycle of when they open again, or?
They'd have to wait until next year to receive funding, but then if, say, CPC decided to give them $150,000 to use towards affordable housing, if they get a great application 2 weeks after that, they're ready to go. They could entertain it, they can have public meetings, whatever else, but they wouldn't have to wait until town meeting. They could move with some kind of support for a good project.
I mean, to me, it's like, I'm trying to visualize, I usually use a spreadsheet, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the steps, the various steps, so I'm trying to visualize in my head how the various steps would work with this. Not that I'm not opposed to affordable housing. It's always been a big question in this town, because the thing is, we want to build up our schools, and in order to build up our schools, you got to bring in more families, the younger families, you got to have kids, et cetera, et cetera. But I've never seen, like, we don't have any kind of like a process where we can actually get something accomplished with affordable housing, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it's like, maybe would this group actually help us with a process of what has to be done in order to accomplish it?
So what it would give you is a dedicated group that's focused on affordable housing. It would streamline the process for potentially funding it. It would get money out faster should CPA or another body determine that they should be funded to a certain extent. And it would train up some capacity. It would get some members, to learn more about how to support housing, and maybe would get some more conversations going. It wouldn't, and then, they would be able to interface with Mass Housing Partnership, Mass Housing, other groups out there that are looking to try to spread more affordable housing. So it would give you hopefully some more capacity and just some more dedicated people focused on affordable housing.
So, I mean, what group right now do we have that we could call on to get it started? Is it something we have to develop? Like somebody from CPC, somebody from whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Who would actually be on this kind of committee? We'd have to see from the public who would want to get involved in this kind of committee. I think we have some people who are interested in affordable housing in town, but it's a real big question for us. Could we find 4 people who would want to serve in a committee like this? And I'm saying 4 because you need 5, but one would be one of you 3 would be on it. So that's a decision we'd have to make. Do you feel confident that you could find 4 other people in town who care enough about affordable housing that we could staff that? I think the answer is yes, but you 3 are more tapped in than I am.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out the process, that's all, and how that spreadsheet.
I'm happy to create that for the next meeting, kind of put together a little bit of here's how it works, both for the funding piece, for the appointment piece, for the, what a statute would look
That
like.
would help me.
I'm happy to do that.
I don't know if it,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, just how this committee would fit in with all that stuff. I agree with Ed. I don't understand how they're going to fit in at all,
Sure.
or how
And I
it'll
mean,
be
if-
helpful at all.
yeah, and if the committee comes up with something, then does that mean CPC will go back in session to work with us, or?
I think the
Will
big
they-
portion of it that Andrew touched on was that by creating this trust, it would then be funded, and there would be a certain amount of money that's allocated to it. And so the trust would have the ability to control what that money is spent on without having to go to town meeting.
And where does the money come from?
So some of it would more than likely either be either contribution from the state, or we would have to start we'd have to contribute some initially.
I mean, CPC does have money put to the side for affordable housing. Can that be worked in with this trust somehow?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
So
what
they
I'm-
would vote to allocate money to the Affordable Housing Trust, say $100,000 a
CPC.
year from CPC.
Okay.
So that would go from their coffers into the Affordable Housing Trust. And then if an application comes in for a project relating to affordable housing, the trust could choose to fund it if they thought it was a good project.
Because that'd be something that would have to go to town meeting in order.
And that's the thing. Once it's in the pockets of the Affordable Housing Trust, it doesn't have to go to town meeting. It only goes through town meeting through the Community Preservation Act Committee.
So in order to do all this stuff, if we can get that spreadsheet or steps involved, then we will know what we can bring to town meeting, what we have to bring to town meeting, or and I mean, we also need CPC to be on board, because they may say, well, we don't want to give up control of that money for affordable housing, or they may say, yeah, we do want to give up that. I mean, it might, and ultimately, the town should decide anyway, so.
Yes. The town would have to
Have to.
decide about forming an affordable housing trust, and they would also decide, if they want to allocate money to them annually.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
kind of the control, right? If the Affordable Housing Trust does a bad job, they're not getting any more money from the
Right.
town.
It'd be something of moving money from CPC that's targeted for affordable housing into the trust. Something like that, right? Yes,
And it'll have to go to town meeting to even form this trust.
That's correct.
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 Yes.
Shelley,
So-
anything to add on any of that? I think you're really getting at the crux of the matter, which I appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you keep kind of cutting me off with the phone call, but it all sounds like it's a good conversation that you're having, and I don't have anything to add at this point.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, I want to know how to drive the car. I just want to know how to start it and put it in gear and move forward. That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay.
So one thing that we could provide is, and I've talked with Andrew about this, but just to tell all of you that I oftentimes do Affordable Housing Trust Fund 101 kind of virtual training around kind of an overview of briefly of the statute, some best practices, the kinds of things that a trust can engage in and that trusts are funding around the state. So we can do that, and it can be open to different stakeholders in the community if you think that could be useful.
Right. Because we want to be able to bring to town meeting all the pertinent information so the town know what they're voting on, and we know exactly what's happening, and they know exactly what's happening. That's all.
We can do a FAQ kind of 1 or 2 pager of just commonly asked questions for folks in the community to review so that they feel more familiar with the tool as well.
I suppose as we move forward in this process of understanding it, then we'll know what questions they might be able to ask. Because right now, I'm not sure which questions to ask. I just know how do we get started and how do we move forward and what's going to be involved. So,
I think you're asking the right questions, which is good. So, and then we have some resources to help us figure out how to message this and get good questions out there answered. So, yeah, I think I'll plan to provide more information in the next meeting, and I think we can keep this moving.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
perfect.
Cool.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Shelley, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, we were skipping around and
We still need to do topic 3.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Colonial Power Group proposal, Aggregate energy. That's the last one before we go into executive session, I believe. And the
Yeah,
town
I
administrator
can do
report,
my
yeah.
report quickly. All right, so let's talk Colonial Power Group. So we've talked about this twice before. How's it going? Good. Sorry, my computer froze up. Just going to my notes. So just as a little bit of background for residents who are tuning into this either for the first time or have heard about this before. So we have a Community Choice Power Agreement program, and we sign these contracts with these organizations with a broker who then helps us go to a supplier. And we do it in order to provide another option for residents, really at limited risk to the town, that opts in an electricity rate. And typically over the life of the contract, you'll see that it's a more stable rate, and then it's also usually at times, especially during the most expensive times for providing power, going to beat the basic service rate. And we saw that early on in our contract, which was great. In our most recent renewal, we needed to deal with a new concept called DAISY. So it's the Day-Ahead Ancillary Services Market Costs. And this is something that ISO New England, which is the overseer of the power markets all around us, instated and said that we had to deal with this in our contracts. We didn't know exactly what these costs would look like. They were instituted in a way to make sure that if power was needed immediately in different markets, that there'd be an extra cost. It's kind of a goofy thing, but we've just tried to roll with it. ISO New England, this power overseer, recommended setting a certain rate in these more variable contracts. We set the rate 4 times as high as that. As we've seen these costs come in for the first time, it's become apparent that the rate that we set wasn't high enough to capture these costs. And this is something that we owe to the supplier. It's not like they're making money off of this. To make a fair contract, we had to set it at a certain amount. And it's looking like we're going to need to raise our base rate in order to capture these daisy costs. So what I'm asking for from the board is I'll work with Colonial Power Group. They'll go out to market and we'll get the final rate. But it's looking like for folks who are on the community power choice rate, we'll be about $7 a month higher than we are right now, which means $6 a month higher than Eversource basic service rates. Now, the good news is that because it's a pretty flexible program, residents can opt out anytime. And we're pretty sure that we're going to beat the basic service rate come August because Eversource will have to price in these daisy costs, everything else. They haven't been dealing with it yet. But once they do, those rates should be look much more advantageous for us. But until August, we're going to have about $6 a month higher than that Eversource basic service rate. And it's not a difficult process to get out of the program. And we will provide information on how to do that. And if people are interested in doing so, starting with the April bills, you can absolutely do that and then jump back on in August. So, and for the folks who don't do that, it's around $6 or $7 more a month than basic service. So while we prefer to be having savings for folks, I think overall it's good to have this as an option. And I like that it's a flexible plan. So I'm looking for the board to authorize me to sign this agreement, just so we can make sure that we're paying for these daisy costs.
And also in the future, if we're not happy, can we opt out of it?
That's correct. When this contract ends, we can choose not to re-up.
Anybody can opt out of this if they want. And in their contract language, they have the right to make the changes too, I believe, right?
That's correct, yes. And if these daisy costs end up changing dramatically and the town is actually getting the bad end of the deal, we can renegotiate that and we get the costs back.
And after discussion with you and looking at this, right now, I think it's in the best interest of the town to let you go ahead with them, Andrew, but that's me.
Yes, it was explained to me as well. I think it's okay now. It's still pretty complicated, but it's.
And I apologize that it was made more complicated in the beginning, but I think we're arriving at somewhere that makes some more sense.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And yourself?
Something still just seems weird about this to me. And I don't think I'm going to, my opinion on that is not going to change.
I mean, this doesn't taste good. I agree with you, but
It's very complicated.
but right now, I think it's in our best interest, so. Well, anyways, I suppose we'll take a vote on it. Why not? I'll make a motion to allow town administrator to sign proposed amendment to community power choice agreement.
I'll second that.
I have a motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2 ayes and
I'm going to, nay.
1 nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay, we'll move to town administrator report.
Great. Well, I'll be very brief since we've gone over plenty so far tonight. So the first item is I have for you 3 proposals essentially for IT contracts. We're not going to make any decisions tonight, obviously, because you're just seeing these for the first time. But we're right now getting services from Suzer Technologies. They've been very good to work with. I like them. I just think it's a valuable thing to do to go out and get other quotes and find out if there's other services that we could be receiving that maybe would be a better fit for us. And it's really been precipitated mostly because I helped the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission with their consideration of regional IT services. They had a great proposal from a group called Entree Technologies, and they have put a proposal together for us to look at. They're out of Westfield. They have some good things to offer. We also have a separate IT vendor for our schools, Twin Lakes Technologies, and they helped with a project earlier this year. It was kind of at the nexus of a town and school project. They did a great job, and they're providing good services, and they're over at the schools 3 days a week. So if something came up with us here, they could come over pretty easily, which could work out nicely for us. Right now, our Suzer contract includes 1 full day a week on site, which is actually quite good. But if something happens on a Monday and our tech is, say, in Orange or Montague, they could typically come over, but it'll take some time. So if someone's over at the schools instead, they could get here faster. So I think these are for your review. If you have questions about them, I'd love to hear from you. And then if you have any thoughts about how to make a decision, if maybe one of the three of you would like to be involved in interviews, or if you want to interview all the firms, just if you have any thoughts on that, I'm happy to take them. But just want to make a decision in the next couple weeks so we can budget and be ready for next year. But any thoughts that you have on how to make a decision would be welcome.
I guess the first question that I have is, are we utilizing a information tech every one full day a week?
It's a great question. Typically, they can clear out all the tickets, I'd say, in half a day. There are days when they are here multiple days a week if something crazy has happened. He sometimes has to put in almost 2 days of work. But there are also times when they're working on other stuff. They're clearing out tickets from other towns when they're here. So if someone was here half a day a week, would it be fine? Probably. Do we really just need more flexibility for someone to come? If someone's computer or something isn't working on a Monday and they come on Thursday, maybe that works better too. But we've had pretty good responsiveness from our Suzer tech, who, even if they're working in another town, they can get here pretty quickly to deal with something urgent, which is nice. But not as fast as if they were at Smith Academy. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I know that the tech company that we use in my private sector job, that they pretty much can do everything almost 100% remote. They just take over our computers from wherever they are. It's really weird.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it seems like a pretty high expense for something. I guess I didn't realize that we had that much
On-site.
need for an on-site tech. Especially if there's another tech company that's already at the schools as well.
Yep.
So.
Yep, it's an option.
The schools still have IT, a couple IT people over there?
It's all through a vendor.
Okay.
believe.
They don't have positions anymore then for, there
I-
used to be IT special, I mean, it used to be like Mr. Muse years ago, and there was like 2 IT people.
I'm pretty sure it's all managed through
All right.
contractors.
So I do have a question on the entree contract.
Yep.
So on the second to last page, there's the quote summary and then there's the monthly expenses. I'm assuming the quote summary is just a one-time fee?
Quote summary would be a one-time, and then the monthly would be the monthly. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that quote would probably be once a year, I would think, for renewing those uses, I think. But I'll confirm with them. I don't believe that would be the monthly. So the costs actually end up being around the same. for all
Almost
three.
exactly, yeah.
All three end up around that $40,000 level.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't really be a change to save money, most likely. Although I haven't gotten Suzer's newest proposal for next year. What I put in was their last year quote. Yep. And I need to go through all three just to make sure that they're apples to apples, the same services
Right.
that are being
Yeah.
provided. That's
Yeah.
important too. The entree one doesn't include, it includes just basically once a month being here in person. And the rest would be serviced by, as you're saying, Luke, through the online system.
Yep.
Yep.
While we're on this subject, I know in the past we were trying to set up a replacement program for some of our computers in the offices and stuff. Are we still doing that as far as, after so many years, replace certain technology and projected costs?
I think we've been pretty good at that, budgeting for, replacing, as we go. I think we could probably stand to get an update on that, make sure we know what costs look like for the next 5 years or so. But yeah, typically we've been pretty good about budgeting for what we need on that, and maintaining our machines nicely.
Because that could go on the capital plan
Mhm.
for future, if we know in a couple of years we have to replace some of the computers or laptops or whatever.
Yep.
This technology stuff doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
I mean,
Always,
all the-
always knew something.
Well, if you like, what I can do, in the next week or two is kind of draw up a comparison between the three, and just as far as what I can tell, and then if you'd like, you can think about if you'd like to, anyone wants to be in an interview or anything else, and,
Yeah,
or delegate the decision to me.
We
and
need
the
a
team
good
here. That's fine.
IT service because we have to protect a lot of information in the town hall and the school systems and personnel information and, in our offices. There's a lot of online theft now with identities and all the kinds of stuff like that. So we have to fund IT people that are good, because could be at a big loss. But, okay, so if you want to put apples to apples, that would be great for the next meeting and help us make a decision.
Also, I would love to see a comparison to other towns of our size.
Sure.
I just think it seems excessive that we're already paying to have someone in the schools for 3 days a week and additionally one person here. It seems like a lot of overhead for such a small community.
Used to be 2 IT people in the schools.
But some of that, they were also teaching a class. This is not teaching a class. This is strictly tech support. And that, I think, is the big difference.
Well, I mean, there was Mr. Muse. He did the TV studio and stuff. And when it first started, I remember being on the committee at the very beginning of getting computers into the schools. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm getting old, but I'm getting old. But
sure.
I mean, it's just grown and grown and grown.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not educated enough on if are we tech heavy right now? Are we on par with other communities of our size? Is there an opportunity to renegotiate an existing contract to include the town hall as well as the school system with a current provider? But to me, it seems like we're a little.
Well, you make a good point.
Excessive.
It's worth looking at.
Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely worth looking at. Yes.
Great.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good to me.
All right.
All right. So Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, you already acted on creating the IAC, which is excellent. So what we'll need to do is bring them any potential changes to plans. It's looking like the Group Insurance Trust tomorrow will vote to increase rates by 12.4% for FY27, which is better than the 20% they had floated earlier. That would also include some modest deductibles and copay changes. The deductibles that they're floating would be $250 for individuals, $500 for families. That would have to be bargained with the PEC. And I'm recommending that I will send them a letter letting them know that at your next meeting, you'll just do the very quick action where you say we're going to move to negotiations on this. We did that earlier on with the GIC. If you remember that, we had to send them notice that you would be voting on starting negotiations. And then you can vote at the next meeting to actually enter negotiations. So I'll plan to give them that notice that it will be on our next agenda, if that sounds all right to you. Yes, Luke?
The only question, thinking back to topic 5.
Yeah.
It's just the deductible amounts that are outlined here versus there are slightly different.
In the letter that they put together for the unions in advance, they were still considering 500 and 1,000. So 500 for individuals, 1,000 for families. The consultants for the trust were waiting on the results of a pharmacy benefit manager study, and they went out to market for pharmacy services and have found that they can have some significant savings there. And because of those savings, they felt comfortable enough bringing down both the deductibles and the potential rates.
Okay.
So they were saying 500, 1,000. Now they feel comfortable with 250 and 500, which I think could be an easier sell for the groups across the trust.
All right.
Great. Good. Right now, tentative launch date for new website would actually be next week, March 3rd. Process coming along nicely. We did a long training on how to use the site that both Karen and I were in. Your microphone is done. Oh. Shout out, Greg.
Hey.
Can you hear me now? All right, how's this? Great. We just need to finish content migration, and once that's all set and we feel confident with how folks are using the site, then we'll be ready to launch. If we need to push it back a week or two, then we will, but we're making good progress there. Route 5 project, this is mainly for residents to hear. I think this is something the board is all aware of, but we have this CEI report that flagged about 50% of the system is not being built to spec and having issues with the slope. So we have hired an independent engineer, which is something that Gielaher wanted to see because they disputed some of the findings of that report. Ty and Bond will be out in the field starting Thursday of this week. It will be out Thursday and Friday to evaluate the system. And we've also reached out to the bonding company for Gielaher for assistance, as we feel that the timeline has been extended so significantly that it would make sense for them to get involved. So that's what we've done. And then general bids for the elementary school roof will not be in tomorrow. They'll be in next week. We extended a week because some of the filed sub-bids came back much higher than they really should have due to some of the phrasing in the bid. So we've rejected all of the bids for, I believe it's the HVAC work that really should have been done differently, and the general contractor will carry that instead. Instead of costing over $190,000, it'll cost more like $25,000. So that will help us out a little bit. So that's that. I think that's all I have for you for my update, unless you have any questions.
Any questions? Old business?
Oh, I guess I should say one other thing. So as you know, my family is expecting a second child. The due date is March 6th. As far as I know, my wife's not in labor yet. So we'll see when that'll happen in the next 2 weeks or beyond. We'll see. I'm hoping to still mostly be at your next meeting and be involved with everything, but if the timing works out a certain way, I won't be at the next meeting, and I'll just make sure we have an agenda and everything else in advance, and either the chair or maybe Karen can run the meeting. So just
Second
Karen.
one usually comes earlier.
That's what I've been told. So we'll see, but I'll work with the chair and the two of you to make sure that we feel good. I'll be taking some time when the baby is born. Obviously, it's a busy time of year, but we'll discuss how best to structure everything. But I'm not far away, and
Well, hopefully everything works out.
thank you.
Yeah.
It all works out. Good.
Okay, under old business, there was the timekeeping. Is that electronic timekeeping? Is that?
Tammy's
moving
done the
forward?
trainings. She is starting things off with the treasurer's office, so they will test it out there, make sure it feels good, send it to the rest of town hall, and then slowly get everybody else on board. So making progress.
All right, perfect. Anybody else have any old business or any business unanticipated? If that being said, I make a motion to go in executive sessions with special counsel pursuant to general laws, chapters 30A, section 21A, and 3 to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation arising from the Route 5 infrastructure project and pursuant to general law, chapter 30A, section 21A, 7, T, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements, specifically the public record laws, GLC, general laws C4S and 7 and 26, and discuss privileged communication from special counsel and not to return to regular session.
One second.
I have a second, Jaworski, aye.
Gagnon, aye.
Longstreet, aye.
Okay, so we'll be going into executive session and not returning. And thank you, John, for taping tonight.